if you're a communist, you can leave now. I'll get to Mamdani in a little while. Today is the celebration of the feast of St. John Lateran. It's not about a building. It's about what the building represents. It represents the people of God. So today we're going to talk about the people of God. And what is our role? What is the job of the church? How the church should react to different situations that present themselves, which may be a danger to a person's soul, or would be destructive of the society in which we live, or destructive to the church itself. Okay. Let's take a look at this scripture passage. A lot of times people read this scripture passage and everybody starts chuckling because they're selling chances out in the narthex. Where the ladies of St. Agnes are trying to sell a couple of pies to make money for the parish. Then they get a marketplace. That's not what it's about. Any preacher that starts off with that, it's a cheap laugh. It's not what it's about. I can tell you what it's about. This is politics, pure and simple. This is what got Jesus into a lot of trouble and landed with his execution, because he touched some nerves of some people who were doing well for themselves by being in bed with the Romans. Let's talk about this a little bit. You see, the temple, huge place, and they had this area where they were selling animals for sacrifice. But they also said the money changers there. Anybody here ever go on a foreign trip? Remember, you used to have to go anyway. If you went to Europe, you had to go and exchange your dollars for whatever. Okay? It was always a pain in the neck because I could never figure out just how much I was supposed to get. And then, of course, you would meet some people on the street. They were going to give you a better deal than they were going to give you at the bank or the exchange at the airport. Okay? There is a profit to be made in exchanging the money. Okay? This is what was happening. A profit was being made in the exchange of money going into the temple, and also in the sale of the animals. Why do you exchange money? Because the Roman money had a graven image of Caesar on the money, and the Jews said if you have a graven image, it's idolatry, and you cannot bring that money into the temple. So they had an exchange rate. Now, who's making money on the exchange rate? Well, a lot of people are. First of all, the poor soul behind the counter. I mean, this is a common worker that would work in any establishment that we have today. The person behind the counter. They're not making a mint, but they are, we hope, at least making a living. Then there are those people who own the exchange. Those people who own the business where the cows and the pigs and the doves are being sold. Those who own the exchange, who have a contract with who? The government. Now, who might those people be? Well, these were the Sadducees. They were the well-off people during this time of Jesus. They were the elite in this time of Jesus, and of course, they had connection with Rome. They were working very, very well together, and they were making huge profits. Of course, the Romans always got their cut. Now, what about these Sadducees? These Sadducees were kind of like our politicians of today. You see, it's inconceivable to me how someone can go into office and not have much money, and within a year or two, they're absolutely loaded. They became very wealthy people, and I'm not joking about this. There was a section in Jerusalem, not far from the temple. It was the Port Royal of its day. That's where the Sadducees lived. They had money, and they could live there. And of course, now you can see they are people who are not only in cahoots with the Romans, but they're also making money off their own people in the exchange rate that they were getting for the coins and also for the farm animals. And so when Jesus attacks the temple, what's he doing? He's attacking the political establishment. That's what he's doing. He's attacking those people who are cavorting with the Romans and making money off their own people. And he says that you've turned this into a marketplace. That's what the problem is. And that's what happens when we come to the time of the trial of Jesus. They're all worried that he's going to upset the apple cart. They're going to lose their money. They're going to lose the franchise. And therefore, he was a threat to the established order. And something else went on. They never went away. It's a good case for term limits. You got to get them out. So there's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on here. It's not as simple as I said as the ladies of St. Agnes selling pies for their Christmas collection for the parish. Not that simple. Okay. Let's talk about this collusion, if you will, of church or synagogue and state. When the church, or in the case of the scripture passage, or synagogue, gets involved with the state, they compromise themselves. They compromise their mission, and they also compromise themselves in the eyes of the people who they are supposed to be serving in order for these people to authentically worship God and to authentically come to know who God is, and in our case, who Jesus Christ is. Because you now have a profit motive, you do not have a motive simply to gain souls for the kingdom of heaven. That's the job of the church. We talked about this idea of the church, the people of God, the church representing God's presence on earth. The presence of God is represented through God's people. Once the state and church join, the message is very, very muddled. When you give money to the church, you expect that money to be used for the salvation of souls. That's the bottom line. So the money that the ladies of St. Agnes and Knights of Columbus make, we expect that money to be used for the salvation of souls. Stewardship, talked about that. For the salvation of souls. But once we lose that vision of what we are all about, who we are, we become another NGO, non-governmental organization, because we begin to accept money from the state. Once you accept money from the state, you are compromised. Because the money you give to church, I'll call it, it's God's money. And God's money is what changes minds and hearts. God's money is what brings people to Christ. God's money creates the miracles, not state money. Justice Scalia at one time said, very, very clearly, he said, when the church accepts money from the state, that money is not given in love, and it's not accepted with gratitude. It changes no one. It does not change you, it does not change the recipient, it does not change minds and hearts, it does not bring people to Christ. My message is that it's always very tempting, and I've talked about this numerous times in different organizations. I've talked about this at St. Matthew's House numerous times in board meetings. Do not accept state money. It's an old expression. You accept Caesar's coin, and Caesar owns you. Number one. The church also has to be a voice out there, speaking on behalf of the poor, the sick, and the disenfranchised. The church has to inform the state as to what is right and to what is wrong. And the church has to instruct its people to vote in such a way that Christian principles are enunciated, either verbally or at the ballot box. So the church does have that obligation. The church must be a prophetic church. The church must instruct the state. Second point. third point is this is extremely important. I said I would get to this situation of Mamdani in New York City. This is more serious than most people realize. You think that it's only happening in New York City, a communist becoming the mayor of New York City. We're somewhat isolated. We're in the free state of Florida. We don't realize a lot of this. But some of you come from New York City, and you still have relatives there. I have two brothers there. And there are some very, very real concerns about what has happened. Why? People use this term, a democratic socialist. That sounds really nice. Democratic socialist. Every communist government, every fascist government believes that they are democratic. Until you find out you can't get rid of them, they never go away. This is what happened in Nazi Germany. It happened in Russia. It's happened in China. It's happened in Central America, Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela. What's this all about? What does communism do? Communism is detrimental to human well-being. It is detrimental to our souls. But I guess people aren't talking about souls that much these days. All they want is, they want something for free. That sounds wonderful. And even though it's failed in all these places that I mentioned, we're going to do it right this time. We want the free stuff. We want the free stuff. We're going to have co-op food. That's really, really cheap food. We're going to have free rides on the subway. I'll tell you what, the way the subways are in Manhattan, I don't want a free ride. I'd rather walk. We're going to have free child care. Oh, but wait till they come when they tell you, we'll tell you how many children you can have. They did that in China, didn't they? Wait till the day comes when they tell you how you're going to educate your child. Wait till the day comes when they tell you, we will educate your child, but they really mean indoctrinate your child. We will indoctrinate your children. That's what's happened in these universities for years. Communist professors filling young people with ideas that have led to the election of Mamdani in New York. Communism is detrimental to human freedom. It removes all those intermediary organizations that allow people to think differently, to act differently. What does it do? It takes away freedom. It takes away the rights of families. Eventually, it removes the church. Every country that has a communist government decides that they have to control the church. Look what's happened in China. The church has had to go underground. Chairman Mao's President Xi Jinping and Chairman Mao's picture have taken the place of Christ in the churches. The crucifixes are being taken down. Look what's happened in Central America. Churches are being closed. They're being attacked. Priests are being thrown out of those countries. The people are poor. They can't even eat. I'll tell you right now, I'll give you a very easy way of proving what I'm saying is right. Most of us know people here in our own parish who are refugees from Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua. We know them. They're not here simply because they wanted a change of scenery. They're here because their rights were being abused where they came from. They're here because they couldn't even eat. They couldn't even practice a profession. They couldn't even go to church without being harassed by the government. That's what communism does. That's what communism does. We could go on forever talking about how evil communism is, and it is evil. But it's the job of the church to speak out against it. If I were the Archbishop of New York, I say to the people that say act cathedral, the same thing I'm saying to you this morning. Sometimes the church waits too long. It rolls over. Closes one eye. Gives a dog that submits. The poor dog just rolls over. And then it's too late. It happens. It was too late in Nazi Germany. It was too late. It was too late in South and Central America. Communists took control, destroyed countries with a vibrant economy. This country is built on the Bible. It's built on the Constitution. It's built on capitalism. They want the distribution of wealth. The distribution of wealth. So that you don't even have the freedom to use all of your God-given talents and work hard and say, this money is mine. I made this money. Oh no. We'll tell you how much you can make. We'll tell you where you can live. And we'll tell you that maybe even private property is not a good idea. You can't have freedom without private property. You cannot have freedom without private property. New York is a warning sign. It's a warning sign to the rest of the country. It's a warning sign to all of those big cities where we have these great universities who are poisoning the minds of Generation Z. Poisoning the minds of people who believe that communism works. It does not work. Let me be clear about this. Ronald Reagan said, we are only one generation away from losing our freedom. One generation, and he was right. So, open your mouth. Vote the right way. Send your children to schools and your grandchildren to schools that will teach the truth about God, about our government, and about the dignity of every human person. Do not let the state take over the life that God has given you. Let me close by saying this. Many people say, the state will feed you. Yeah, for a while. And the state can also starve you. And that's how they win. God love you.